If you haven't already, please go ahead and click on the subscribe button, and while you're at it, click on that little bell too.
What's up everybody, it's me E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and today we're gonna review Halloween. Hey, cut that off. Hey, cut that off. No, we're not playing that. All right, let's get into a quick intro. After decades of the terrifying encounter, Laurie Strode comes to her final confrontation with the psychotic serial killer Michael Myers. Enough of that, let's get right into the good.
The good.
In a number of different ways, Halloween pays homage to the previous original movie and serves as a really nice treat for fans of the franchise. One way is found in just the dialogue, where you'll notice some funny references to previous movies. Those inside jokes will mainly be received well by people who probably actually watched all 7+ Halloween movies and its variations. What I appreciated is that even if you haven't seen the original movies in a long time, the characters find nice little ways to catch you up through their interactions. Another way this movie pays homage to the original is, of course, by using the original theme music. We all know it so well, and even if you haven't watched the previous movies before, that Halloween music is just iconic. So when it comes into play into the film with minor upgrades to the music, you can't help but get a flood of nostalgia hit you, and you know it's about to go down. Thankfully, the score is nicely complemented by some legit cinematography. I loved how they would angle certain shots in such a way that would show Michael Myers blending into the background or moving about. Let's put it this way, Drax is gonna have some serious competition with Michael Myers in a contest of standing still and being invisible. Jamie Lee Curtis was solid in returning to the role of Laurie Strode. I appreciated how this film showed the after effects of the trauma from her previous experience. As you can probably see from the trailers, she's essentially become Sarah Connor from the Terminator series. As a matter of fact, her readiness and preparations due to her fear of Michael Myers is one of her character's best features. It should also be noted that the little kid in this movie was easily one of the most entertaining characters in the film. I loved how he just kept things real despite being the obvious comic relief. Now let's talk about the man himself, Michael Myers. This guy was just so mean. I loved how they cast a much larger and taller actor to play the role. The film had so much graphic violence that it allowed Michael to truly embrace the menacing embodiment of evil that he's been described to be. All right, enough of that, let's get right into the bad.
The bad.
I think one of the biggest issues in this movie lies within the writing. One issue right off the bat is just how certain characters know exactly where to be during the climax of the film. I mean, it didn't make any sense as to why or how this particular character knew to go to an exact location in a scene. This definitely felt like lazy writing and directing, whereas we're not even given a more authentic transition from one scene to another. Another issue with the writing came in the form of dumbing down characters. Despite being one of the smartest characters in the movie had to dumb down even Laurie's character. It just seemed to contradict the entire point of her preparing for decades for Michael Myers, and yet still she commits some pretty dumb decisions when dealing with him. I mean, other characters had some not so bright moments in the film too, but it was just disappointing that Laurie had to be among them. Besides that, the writing inconsistency continued to affect the deaths in this movie. Obviously, we know that Michael Myers is a killing machine. However, in this film, I think we get mixed messages as to why Michael kills or not. Some of the killings make sense. Some of the killings do not make sense. And then we have the instance where even the non-killings don't add up either. So I think the motivations for Myers end up contradicting themselves. If you want to tell us that Michael Myers has a purpose in killing, like the Terminator, fine. If you want to tell us that Michael Myers randomly kills because he's a homicidal maniac, that's fine too. However, this back and forth with his sense of killing is just offsetting. I thought it was a missed opportunity to at least add a little bit more clarity to Myers' character. While some may love the mystery of Michael Myers, I don't think it's essential to who or what his character comes off to be. Alright, let's shift back over and talk about the deaths and killing in this movie. As I mentioned before about the inconsistent motivations by Michael Myers, some of the killings were poorly written. Actually, I should say it's hard to say if the murders had any purpose for the story, given the fact that some of them felt forced. And by forced, I mean that some killings seem to be inserted into the movie just as like a filler or something to appease audiences with just another random kill. Personally, I think that some of those instances could have been better thought out with a little bit more time to help make them make a little bit more sense. As a result of all of this, some of the deaths in this movie are dumb and avoidable. The most terrifying moments in any slasher film are when the deaths are tragically unavoidable. Those type of scenes really help elevate Michael Myers to be that legitimate force of evil. Moving on, I was a little bit disappointed with the predictability with some of these little plot twists. They're pretty obvious if you pay attention to the signs. The movie just does a little bit too much foreshadowing in some cases. One more thing, there's one scene in this movie that serves zero purpose at all. It was a complete filler. Definitely a scene that should have been on the DVD as a deleted scene. And you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the cop sandwich scene. It was just dumb. Yes, you'll get a cheap laugh out of it, but seriously, like, it did not do anything for the movie. All right, enough of that. Let's get to the reason.
The reason.
Now, despite any of the ills that this movie has, I really do think that Halloween was still a great film to breathe new life into a classic franchise. A lot of the problems with this movie are not the types of things that are going to deter you from this genre anyway. Also, if you've never seen the other Halloween movies, you'll probably understand why movies like the Scream franchise even exist. I hope they find a way to do more sequels with this because I really did enjoy this Halloween movie. I also think that this movie brought back a lot more dignity to the franchise, given how the previous movies just went wild and into left field. So when it comes to the rating for Halloween, I've got to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Halloween is what I'd like to call a C-boot. It's basically a sequel, but it's also a reboot at the same time. So what this movie does is it basically picks up after the first Halloween and maybe a little bit after the second Halloween and continues the story from that point on. So everything after Halloween 2, you could just completely forget about it, and it's actually a really good thing that we do that. And you know what? If you haven't seen the original movies, it's really not that big of a deal because this movie does do a pretty decent job in terms of just kind of catching you up and giving you enough information to walk in cold. But if you do happen to watch the original movies, you'll understand way more of the references and the inside jokes that they put in the film. Actually, maybe even after watching this movie, you might even be enticed to go watch the originals. Either way, feel free to go watch Halloween in theaters and have a good time. That's all I got for today. What did you guys think about Halloween? Do you like the direction that this was going? Do you think this was a really good fit for the franchise, especially to wipe away the other movies? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate your time. If you got a moment, please check out some of my other videos. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.